Hello everyone, Lindsay here with VisMe, and welcome to another VisMe webinar. We hope you're all having a fabulous week. I'm tuning in from San Clemente, California. We always love to hear where people are joining us wherever in the world. So before we get started, you could locate the chat window and just type in where you're joining from. We'd love to hear about it. Got Greenville, South Carolina, Michigan, Maine, Monterey, Mexico, Dallas, the Netherlands, Ottawa, Canada, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I've been there. It's very beautiful there. Uruguay, UK. Awesome. We love to just see all the diversity, and we're glad you guys were able to join us. Hopefully it's not too crazy of a time in your time zone, but we appreciate you attending anyway. So, all right, so today we are teaming up with the team at Team Edgar to bring you some awesome content on creating and distributing social posts that catapult your reach. As a brief introduction, Team Edgar is a social media automation platform that allows you to amplify your message to a bunch of different networks and save you time on social media. We have Megan McMullen, who is over outreach and onboarding at Team Edgar, as our speaker today. And we'll also have founder and CEO of VisMe, Payman Tai, who's going to be joining us a little bit later as well. Just a little introduction into VisMe in case you're not familiar. VisMe is an all-in-one visual content creation platform that allows you to create captivating and interactive visuals without needing any particular design background. We have over 6 million users from over 100 different countries all over the world, from individual users and educators to nonprofit organizations and Fortune 500 companies such as Capital One, IBM, Netflix, and the list goes on. So if you can see my screen, it should be the VisMe homepage. And I just realized my camera wasn't on. Sorry about that, and hello. If you can see and hear us, go ahead and type yes in the chat window. So we know that we're not having any issues. Looks like we are getting a bunch of yeses. This is a live event, so we want to make sure that you can all see and hear us properly. If you do come across any connectivity issues or audio issues, anything like that, I would say the first step would be just to refresh your browser. That tends to take care of a lot of the issues that we see. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, if you could jump into the questions tab and put those there, that helps keep it a little more organized. The chat tab sometimes gets a little more cluttered. So go ahead and direct your questions there throughout the webinar. And we are recording this webinar session, so you guys will receive a link to the recorded session so that you can review it, pass it on to a teammate, or whatever you'd like to do after we're done. So at this point, I think I'll go ahead and pass it over to Megan from Team Edgar to start our content. Megan, are you with us?
I sure am. Thanks for that awesome introduction, Lindsay. And it is so exciting to see how many people are tuning in from all over the world. It is one of my favorite things about live webinars. So thanks so much for showing up today, guys. Super excited to be here. So as Lindsay mentioned, I am from Team Edgar, which is a social media automation tool. And today I'm going to start out by sharing a little bit about our philosophy behind how you can distribute your content without losing your mind and without feeling like you have to babysit your social media constantly. It's something that we're really passionate about, especially for small business owners, because we know that you have other areas of your business you need to be working on. So if you've never tried these content distribution strategies before, I really would encourage you to do so, to make sure that you're systematically showing up for your followers. This is kind of a counterintuitive fact sometimes, in that if you're more systemized with your social media, it often leads to way more engaging and real conversations where you're keeping the social in social media and you're feeling like you're actually connecting with your followers in a way that leads to that really great brand awareness and brand affinity. So the more systemized that you can be, the more real conversations you're going to get, which often are the things that lead to conversions. We always like to say conversations lead to conversions on social media. And it all starts with categories. So categories are incredibly simple. They are exactly what they sound like, and they're going to be specific to your brand. So these are just some ideas that we've seen work really well for getting a diverse social media feed that's super engaging for your followers. But of course, anytime you hear advice about social media, you want to customize it to your brand, and you want to make sure you're doing things that feel right for you guys. So some categories that work really well for the types of posts you're going to distribute on social media are things like how-to content. You always want to be educating your followers. Questions. Oftentimes when we hear people say, oh my gosh, I'm not getting any engagement on social media, and we look at their feeds, it's because there aren't any questions involved in there. Any sort of quotes are some of the most shareable content on social media, and you always want to aim to take people from a state of a low vibe to a high vibe, and that is going to be something accomplished by inspirational quotes so much. Blog posts, this can be anything that's going to drive traffic to your site. So drive traffic to the actual place where your content lives. Because if you're just distributing content on creating content on social media, remember, we don't own those platforms. That's basically like you're on rented land. So one of the main goals with social media is distributing where people can find you off of those platforms. So whether you're a blog writer, a video producer, a podcast host, you always want to use social media to direct people there. Behind the scenes content, we always want to make sure that we're giving our followers a way to know that there's a real human behind the brand. Often when you can do behind the scenes content, it's one of the strongest ways that you can emotionally connect with your audience. And remember, emotions are what people buy on way more than logic, or way more than we think that people do. Tips, if you can give someone a tip they can take action on your social media page and see a result from, if you give them that result, it's way easier for them to start trusting you and feel like when they purchase from you, you're going to continue to deliver results. So even if that tip isn't directly related to your product or service, it is a really strong way of connecting with your audience. Curated content, great way to make sure you're showing your followers, hey, I care about giving you the best information regardless of where it comes from. Seasonal content, so that you're resonating with what's going on in your followers' lives. Promotional content, we must remember to always promote ourselves on social media. And of course, list building content. So this goes into your lead magnet, those things that people can go ahead and drop in their email address to go ahead and get something from you, so you can start nurturing people not only on social media, but through your email as well. So again, customize your categories for what works for your brand. But this is going to be your first step, is setting up some categories. Next, you're going to start doing something that we call batching. And batching involves some math. Now, don't tune out if you're not a numbers person here. I myself am not either, but this math is going to make your life so much easier when it comes to creating and distributing your content, because you're going to do it all in one batch so that you're not feeling like you're constantly being pulled towards social media every day, but you have this content created in a space you've intentionally sat down and written these out. So here's how batching math actually works. Let's say you want to send out 6 updates a day, 5 days a week. If you're going to do that math, that goes to about 30 updates a week, or you need to create 120 status updates a month. Now, sometimes that number can seem a little overwhelming, right? You're like, holy cow, I have to write 120 status updates. But if you use your categories, you'll notice it makes it way more doable, because that 120 status updates broken down into 6 categories is you only having to go in and create 20 status updates per category per month. Now, again, remember, customize these numbers for what works for your brand, for how often and how much content you want to send out. But please go ahead and replace these numbers with what works for you, because again, having this systemization is the foundation of your social media strategy, and it is absolutely going to make you love social media rather than feeling like it's a chore you have to do all of the time. So after you've done your actual batching math and you have your categories set, next you're going to think about how you distribute this content. I always recommend going on the 80-20 rule. And again, categories make following this so much easier. So the 80-20 rule is all related to making sure 80% of your content is valuable or entertaining content, because that's why people are on social media. They're there to learn, they're there to connect with friends and family, and they're there to be entertained and escape what's going on in their day. So if you are constantly promoting, it's likely people aren't going to love following your page and aren't going to love seeing your post show up in their feed. So that's why the majority of your content should really be valuable content, in the sense that you want to entertain someone, because that's a piece of value for sure. You want to educate someone, on. People love learning and filling their curiosity gaps. And then 20% can be a little bit more promotional, where you're asking people if they'd like to opt in to be on your newsletter, or you're asking people to purchase, or you're giving a social media specific discount code for people. So oftentimes people get a little bit afraid of saying, oh my gosh, this is a lot of content I'm getting out there. However, you must remember that it takes about 7 to 10 touch points for someone to open a piece of content even, or engage with a brand in a way that produces brand loyalty. So you see everything you post on social media, but your followers most definitely do not. So one of my strongest pieces of advice that I always like to give is test and experiment posting a few more times than perhaps your current schedule allows for. With our social media automation tool, it makes it incredibly easy just to pop your categories onto a schedule so that you can see this 80-20 rule play out and make sure that while you're experimenting with what categories your followers are really engaging with, that you can really make sure that you're really seeing the bright spots of what categories people love and producing more of that type of content. So test it out, experiment. Social media is never one and done. It's something that is living and breathing. And these are just some really great guidelines to give you that foundation, and then listen to your community and go off of what they tell you to really improve this distribution. All right, so next, Team Edgar software is set up on an evergreen fashion. And even if you don't use the tool, I really suggest thinking about making your content for social media evergreen. That just means making sure people can consume it no matter what time of year it is. And that's because you are continuously getting new followers, and what we previously talked about not being able to have everyone see every single post, or maybe they weren't in a place where they could engage with that post at that specific time. So if you're creating your content in an evergreen fashion, it allows you to reshare posts down the road. So you always want to have content going out that's going to be something that a first-time viewer of your product or service sees, and they know what they're talking about. You always need to have that beginner's mindset in mind when creating your content. So see if you have that evergreen content that you could reshare more than once. It's going to save you so much time, and it's going to allow your followers to always get the best quality content from you. Are you really making variations on your posts to test out what language works best? For example, at Team Edgar, we find when we ask a question in front of our blog posts, it leads to a lot more engagement than if we just post it with the title. Do you have a schedule to reshare your content once a quarter, once a month for some of your strongest traffic driving blog posts? If you've never tried the strategy of resharing a piece of content, make sure you do. You'll prove to yourself that you don't have to work harder all of the time. It's about working smarter and producing the content that you know gives you the best engagement. Does each piece of content have a job to do? So is your content really obvious what the person should do after they consume it? Have you given a call to action saying, hey, click this link to learn more? Sometimes it's as simple as just that click this link that we need to add in there in order to see our traffic increase to our site. And it's these easy changes that you can start testing out. And think about creative ways that you can start to really get the questions you're asking back into your content. So if you ask a question on a topic to your followers, see if they can then go in there and you can pick out other related questions and from their answers, create more blog content off of that. Go back to that original post and go ahead and produce a link for that person in the reply of their comment. It is about starting these really meaningful conversations in that way that your followers are going to feel listened to and feel like they love engaging with you. All right, so the second concept here, after you get your categories and your batching math done, that's going to save you the most time, is a concept called upcycling your content. So upcycling your content means taking one pillar piece of content, whether that's a really well-researched blog post, a really well-researched podcast, and turning that into multiple social media status updates. You never know what type of content your followers like to consume the most. And you never know when someone's going to see a blog post in a different form and be able to relate to it better. I myself love listening to podcasts way more than I love reading blog posts. So you have that kind of preferred medium too, and your followers do as well. So some ways that you can actually start to upcycle your pillar piece of content is thinking about how you could take a blog post and turn it into an audio recording. It could be as simple as reading that blog post, uploading it to a podcast format, and sending that out on social media. You don't have to overcomplicate things in order to get more content in different forms out there. Next, how could you take that same blog post and copy and paste some chunks of it into your newsletter? Remember, not everyone on social media is going to click through and actually consume the entirety of your blog post on your blog, but they might love opening your newsletter, and you don't have to do more work in order to get that content to them. So how can you repurpose that blog post content in a newsletter to save you time? Could you take that piece of content and make some quotables? You do not have to be a designer these days to create stunning graphics on social media. I love myself using the beautiful backgrounds and just getting pull quotes and putting them onto backgrounds and then uploading those to social media. These are some of the most shared aspects of your social media strategy, because people love when it identifies with them. So if they read a quote and they're nodding their head saying, yes, that sounds like me, they're more likely to share it to their page. If they share it to their page, that's basically like social media word of mouth marketing gold. So look for these nuggets of thought leadership that you've dropped into your blog posts and podcasts, and see how you can pull those out as text-only tips to share on social media. Next, you could take that blog post and actually turn it into a lead magnet. We actually found at Meet Edgar, we had about 5 to 10 blog posts about writing blogs, and we turned it into an ebook just by culminating all of that information we'd already researched and written on our blog, redesigning it into an ebook, placing it on a landing page that people can download that ebook. We can share that on social media, not only to provide more information for our followers, which they love, 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 but we're also growing our newsletter list, which is way easier to sell through a newsletter and email than on social media, where people are just looking to be entertained and learn something. Could you also take that one blog post and create a 2-minute video of it? I always suggest going live for these. It is some of the best ways you can get huge reach. And then drop the link in and say, if you want to learn more, go ahead and click on the link and read the rest of our blog. So you see how going through that, I've now have like 5 different pieces of content from one well-researched blog post. If you're not upcycling your main content, whether it's a podcast, video, or blog post, you are missing so many opportunities in order to connect with your followers in the medium that they want to see. All right, so once you've got your category set, and once you have done your batching math to know how many posts per month you need to put into those categories, and you have these checklists where you're producing one main pillar piece of content and how you're going to upcycle that into 5 to 10 different pieces of content, it's time to start thinking about engagement when it comes to social media. So remember, it is not all about just broadcasting. That is not going to get you the most effective social media strategy. You need to make sure that you're also batching your engagement time and you're not posting and ghosting. You want to be on there after you post for 20 minutes or so that you can answer people's comments and questions. I always suggest, let a scheduling tool like Meet Edgar go ahead and send your content out to your platforms. At the end of your day, leave 5 to 10 minutes to jump on in there and go ahead and engage with your followers to make sure you're not missing any really awesome replies that people made and anything you want to follow up with. Because when it comes down to it, your followers are not just a number. They're real people who want to have a social connection with your brand. So you want to treat them in that way. Cool. So that is going to be the conclusion of my presentation, and I'm super excited to pass it back to Lindsay so she can introduce Visme's portion. If you do have any other questions about Meet Edgar, I will go ahead and hang out until the end and get those answered for you, or you can always email support@meetedgar.com, and I will be in the inbox for the rest of the day today. Thanks so much for your time, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for that really awesome jam-packed information with lots of tips and tricks. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did. I can't wait to go and apply some of the ideas that you gave. So that's awesome. Before I pass to Payman, I just want to introduce our topic a little more. Megan talked a lot about how you don't have to be a designer to create really awesome social graphics. And our platform, Visme, can help you do that. You don't need the extensive design skills. 90% of, according to 3M Corporation, 90% of information transmitted to the brain is visual, and visuals are processed 60,000 times faster in the brain than text. So the way you present your information visually and social is really, really important. And so, be continuing to ask yourself questions like, what are your followers responding to visually? What is the product and service you're trying to tell? If your brand was a person, what kind of things would it like to see and do? These questions are a good guide to discover the personality and characteristics of your brand and help you find the images and graphics that suit. And when it comes to retweeting or sharing, choose images that align with your brand to avoid inconsistency. So we're going to go show you a little bit more about how you can do that. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to the CEO and founder of Visme, Payman Tai.
Well, thank you very much, Lindsay, for that introduction. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining in. I'm going to make this pretty quick. I'm just going to take about 5 to maybe 6, maybe 7 minutes of your time, and I'm going to show you how you can put some of the tips that were provided from Meet Edgar into works. And there's a question right now I see on the chat as far as how is Visme and Meet Edgar related. We are basically doing a co-webinar. Meet Edgar is a great platform for you to be able to share and schedule your social media. Visme is a content creation tool, and not just for social media, but all types of content. And I'm going to basically show you how to do a social media graphic. And so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in just a moment. Let's see here. And I'm going to go ahead and also pause my own video here so you guys can, I get the maximum bandwidth. Okay. All right. So I think you should be able to see my screen. Now, I don't know, for those of you that are joining in, if you have never used Visme before, please in your chat just say haven't or not, and I'm just going to get a feel of, which of you have not. So here we go. In Visme, you can create all types of content, from anything from full-blown presentations all the way to fully engaging infographics, which is also great for social media, documents, printables, and so on. But today, I want to focus on social media graphics, all right? And it doesn't matter whether it is for Instagram posts or if it's going to be for LinkedIn or Twitter, you can do that. And we have it categorized in different ways. So for example, if I'm going to do a Twitter post, we have it as a static, and we even have animated versions, all right? And these are ready to go. All you do is change the text, the color, even the graphics, and you download it as a GIF or a video, and you'll be able to put on your social media, all right? So here we go. I've got something open here, and I put this together. I'm going to do a couple of things for you real quickly. So here we go. Here's a quick design here on the left side. I'm inside the Visme editor, and again, we have a lot of resources. Lindsay's going to put a little link to some more video sections. You kind of learn in a few minutes how to create all types of content. But for the sake of time, I'm going to show you how you could reach an end result pretty quickly. So I've got a text here. I don't usually create a presentation, but when I do, let's see here, I use Visme. So have a little fun, okay? And let's go ahead. I'm going to change the color here, similar to any other platform. I mean, as it is, if I look at this and if I present this right now before I download it, it's kind of already animated our designs, and Visme, you can animate any object, but there isn't much going on. There's no visuals here, right? So let's have some, a little bit of spice it up with some interactivity. So what I'm going to do is on Visme, we have all types of content. So you can go in and grab content blocks and blocks of content that give you a very quick starting point. So for example, watch this. I'm just going to go and drag and drop that. And it gives me a starting point, and I can start changing things. But what I want to do is, this is a social media graphic. It's about quick visual cues. So what I'm going to do in this one is go to graphics and text. No, let's go to graphics here. So I'm going to click on the graphics tab. Now I could bring in a little static element and change the colors. Everything in Visme is customizable. You're not stuck with just the colors that the icons come in, but I want to have some fun. So what I'm going to do is go to illustrations here. We have all these different objects. I'm going to come down here and go to maybe the social media, and I'm going to open it. And you see all these graphics, they're ready to go. They're animated. But what I want to do is I could do the outline, or what I'm going to do is to go to the static. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. This looks pretty cool. And you see what I did? I just dropped it in, and it's already animated. Now, if you really wanted to, you could go down and even change the colors. You don't really need to, unless you're, really need to be picky about elements, or you're very design oriented. And it's okay right now, but I want to do one more thing. I want to add a background. Now in Visme, we give you all sorts of assets, including a video library. Okay, so these are great for backgrounds, so you can drop them in. But in this case, what I did was earlier, I wanted something specific to this and have a little fun. So you can actually upload your own images and you can drag and drop animated GIFs and so on. So I actually had gone ahead earlier and just uploaded a little GIF that I found out. And I'm going to go ahead and search for it. Oh, there's Elon Musk set as a background. And see what I just did? Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So share it, and you see in just a matter of a few clicks, I don't usually create a presentation, but when I do, I use Visme. All right, so that's a little kind of a quick example as an idea. Just came to my mind that I did. And what I could do now is, of course, change the colors, customize it, make it oriented to what you want it to be. And then when you're done, you could do two ways. Depending on the content you create in Visme, now if I could go ahead and just generate a link and then send that through. In fact, I'm going to do that for you right now. All right. Now in Visme, you can create content that's private and you can share it privately, but that's really for presentations and so on. The other thing you can do is if you want to put this on social media, you share it as a link, which then of course people click and come to the public version of this. Let me go ahead and send this link to you guys. There you go. So you can go ahead and check that out. Or the other thing I could do is I could download it. So I'm going to click download. And I'm going to come down here, and now it's not, this one is animated, so it's not going to be a static image. If there was no animation, I would just download as an image. And again, you can do all types of format, but for social media, you're either going to do it as an image, or I can download as a video. So I could do an MP4, or I could just download as a GIF, and then boom, when I do that, it will generate GIF for me, and then I just go ahead and upload it to social media, or you can actually schedule it if you want through Meet Edgar. As far as when you want to post it. All right, so I want to make sure you guys got that link. There you go, you see, so you can go ahead and click on that link now, but let's do something else. I want to have a little bit more fun. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add a new page. And again, you could start a new design from scratch, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and add another one. All right, and this one, I'm going to go to layouts. And again, because I start as a social media, it knows what to show me here. All right, that's why these things are based on the type of content that I started. So you see, when I went to create a new design, I had selected social media and one of these. And therefore, when I'm selecting my next one, I have a layouts tab. All right, so now you can do is come down here. And again, you might say, well, this has nothing to do with kind of what I'm working on. This doesn't appeal to me or what I'm working on, but that's okay. You just click it, all right? And then I'm going to replace it. So there it is. So this is ready to go. And then I can start changing the colors. All right. So I can go ahead and change that, or I can go what's called theme colors. And we even give you little theme colors here that you can click and change the whole design in a matter of a click. All right. Or what I can do is come down here. Let me just go ahead and remove this text and show you something cool. So let's go ahead and add this. I send the URL to you. Let's see. Weird news. I grabbed this a little bit earlier on. So let me go ahead and just take in a little piece of text, bringing it into my slide. So let's go ahead and paste that through. So Japan's sushi chef using a bodybuilder delivery to buoy COVID-19 hit business. So let's do here. I want to have some fun with this elements. What I'm going to do is come down here, and I'm going to go to graphics, and I'm going to close this off, and I'm going to go to characters. And let's have some fun. So I've got these mascots here in Visme. Look at that. And I can go ahead and drag and drop one of these. So let's go ahead and maybe perhaps use this guy. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him bigger, and I'm going to go to poses. And you see there's all these poses that we have here. Let me move it here. You can see. And again, we're doing a screen share, so it's not going to be as smooth. But because we're talking about the bodybuilder and exercise, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and say he is wondering, he is training. So he's actually doing some jump ropes, all right? So let's go ahead and do that. And then again, you could just have some fun. Things don't have to be boring. You can bring in elements. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to go click on my background, click background. I'm going to go to patterns. I'm going to click this. I'm going to go ahead and lighten up a little bit. And then basically, there's nothing else I need to do. Again, if you want in Visme, you can click on any object and you can apply animations. So what I can do is say, hey, I want this text to, for example, come as a gravity, and I'm going to apply it, and then that's it. Let's see what it looks like. So I can go ahead, and I got this guy who's doing a little jump roping. And again, it may not be relevant, but you're kind of just having some fun with things. And what you can do is even have him repeat it and do a lot more, all right? And then bring in other elements to support it. All right, so I think that just kind of gives you a little bit of a gist of it as far as how you can quickly create in a matter of no time designs that can be, again, you may be used to creating content that is very static. It's just like an image. In Visme, you can still do that. But what you can also do is tap into all our animated graphics and just create very engaging, highly informative content. And that can go through other type of material as well. You could also record audios and then have background music. And again, not enough time to show this to you. All right, so I'm going to pass it on to Lindsay. I hope that gives you a little bit of information of how you can use Visme. And back to you, Lindsay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Payman, for that awesome demonstration. And we are going to have, if you have any questions, we will do a couple of questions here at the end. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to go ahead and throw those into the questions tab. A couple we'll start out with for Megan. First one is, can you just describe a little bit of what makes Meet Edgar unique from other social distribution platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. So our main difference is going to be that we are an evergreen social media platform. So we are based, our kind of the backbone of Meet Edgar is based on those categories we talked about, so that it makes it incredibly simple for you to add your content into our library. Anything you add into Meet Edgar always remains in your library. So that's a little different from a lot of scheduling tools that just send your post out and then it's gone. We actually retain all of the content you put into the library, and then you set your categorically repeating time slots. So I'll go ahead really quickly here and share my screen so you can see what this looks like. But essentially, it's a really great set it and forget it, so that you don't feel like you're constantly having to go on in and constantly having to create new status updates to share. It's very customizable. You can see when you come into Meet Edgar and you click to add new content here, we allow you to amplify this out to whatever platforms you want. So you can send this to Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, not Meet Edgar, Twitter, and LinkedIn, or you can decide that you only want to send this to Facebook. So you're always setting the permissions. Then you're telling Edgar what type of post this is. Your library is where all of your content is stored. So this library is just going to continuously have all your content unless you delete it from there. Then your weekly repeating schedule here allows you to set those categories up so that you're getting that really great mix of content. You know what I was speaking to, the 80-20 rule. This visually allows you to make sure that you have the majority of your content being value-added content, and then sprinkling in those promotions so people don't feel like you're just a used car salesman screaming different discounts at them all the time. There's also a lot of other features within Meet Edgar, like you're able to connect RSS feeds that will automatically pull in content from your blog or podcast or other people's blogs to share out. And we, of course, have a way for you to go ahead and send out content on a specific day if you don't want to use that weekly repeating schedule as well. So super flexible platform. But I personally think the evergreen fashion of having the categories on your weekly repeating schedule, and these will work in a last in, first out rotation, works really well. We are one of the only platforms that also offers the integration for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Instagram all together.
Awesome, thank you. Another question, this one, Payman, if you're still around, I'll take this one for you. Someone is wondering about presenting census results or just data visualizations in Visme. Is that something that we can do?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things, social media just happens to be one of the content types that you can create in Visme. We are very well known for the presentation abilities and for infographics. Bar none, we're hands down have more features and functionality than any other tool. So if you're visualizing stats and figures, there's a couple ways you can do that. If you need to print it out, then you probably want to go to start as a document. You could also do as a presentation because you can download as a PDF if you need to, or images. But let's say if it's a report and meant something to be downloaded at a very specific size, you go to documents, and then we have reports. We also have survey results. If I come down here, look, I'm going to go ahead and say like survey. Okay, and then so there's like surveys, and we have these results. These are 8.5 by 11. Of course, you can size them. So you see, let's say that you have a census results, you'll be able to grab it that way. I'm just going to go ahead and open one, but before I do that, you could go to infographics and make it as tall as you want. But let's say you've got census results, and what you want to do is to visualize that. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. Again, I know that we're talking about social media here just for the sake of a question. And you could duplicate this page, add additional pages. All right. So for example, let's say you start from here, and then you can change everything. You see, you can go ahead and put different information, figures, and stats. You can adjust that. So let's say if there's like 10, you see, you can do that. You can randomize it. You can change the colors in just a matter of a second. And again, this could be for social media as well, right? Or what you can do is I'm going to go here and perhaps remove some of this information and start visualizing stats and figures. In fact, maybe I don't want to do this. So maybe I want to do is take this and bring it to 60%. So we have what's called data. And this is where, again, charts, you deal with heavy data, maps. But then in this case, all I want to do is to go ahead and adjust this to maybe a certain percentage, you see. So let's say 60%, change the color, or go to the theme colors, and then boom, change the entire design to something else that I can adjust, okay? So that's how you can adjust the color scheme and then override things as you need to. And then you can download it as an image or PDF, or just go ahead and share it. Share it as a link, put it on your social media, people click on it, and then they'll be able to take into the interactive format. I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the things that you can do inside of Visme.
Awesome. Okay. Another question. We've had some talk about what are the major differences between a PowerPoint presentation and what Visme can do. Payman, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Happy to do that. Well, pretty powerful presenting is what you can do inside Visme. So here's an example. This is a presentation that you can put forms. It could be anything you create in Visme. When people come to that link, by the way, you can have your own logo on it in our business plans. People have to put their name and information to access that, okay? So that's one thing. You could have live content, and let's go here, and then Visme, so submit that. And this is actually, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, go ahead. Let's go ahead, okay. You missed the form that I did. So let's go here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this incognito so that it will ask me for a form. So here's an actual presentation created in Visme, all right? And it asks you to enter information. So enter your name, email, and so on. You can put this in front of your form. This is a live presentation. And again, you can put your own logo if you want. And once people enter it, that information is collected. This is an actual presentation in Visme. And my team is using it to sell, to actually promote. When people come, they want enterprise plans and team plans. And look, it's interactive. In Visme, you can actually add actionable items. You see how everything is already fully interactive? There's hover overs, there's animated icons and images. Everything is just drag and drop, and you can add interactivity. Look, I've got hover effects, you see? So we're showing how to do something. Hey, on hover, do the following. On click, go to here. And you can link to any object. You can embed anything from third parties. I could really go on, but I think it's best that Lindsay, you can put a link to how to create a presentation in Visme, and maybe a link to one of our advanced webinars. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised as far as the full capabilities of what you can do inside Visme over any other tool. I hope that gives you a little bit more information on that.
Awesome. I just dropped that link in. I'll drop the advanced webinar in as well. We do have a couple. We'll ask one more question. We have quite a few. Hopefully some of them have been answered in the chat. I can see. But Megan, want to throw one more question at you. The question is, can Meet Edgar curate content from other websites?
Yeah, absolutely. So our RSS feed feature and our bookmarklet is going to be the best way to do that. And I'll go ahead and show you how that works real quick here. So when you're in Meet Edgar, under this import tab, this is where you can upload either a spreadsheet of content. If you need an example of how that works, this hyperlink will work and take you to our help center. Or this is one of the coolest features. If you go ahead and just put a website title in here, and you click on Find RSS Feed, Edgar is going to go ahead and say, great, there's an RSS feed connected here. So this would be me wanting to import all of the Meet Edgar blogs. But again, you could do this for any blog that you'd like to import content from. It also works for YouTube channels as well as podcasts. So a great way to make sure you're never missing a post that goes out. As with any content you add to Edgar, you're always going to put this into a category. So if I was curating content, I might put this in my recommended reads category. Always assign permission for where these posts are allowed to go. And then you can either send these directly into your library so that they're in the rotation of your posts going out automatically. Or a lot of people will use this RSS feed reader to add maybe 5 of their favorite blogs and send it to a pending content queue. What happens to any of the feeds that you add here is they're checked every 24 hours. And if a new post has been released to that feed in that time frame, it's going to pull it on over. You can then go into your pending content queue if that's where it was sent to, and either approve, reject, or edit the post. So pending content is going to be right here. You can go ahead and see that you can approve or reject any of these posts, or if you wanted to edit it to add in anything beyond just the headline that's automatically pulled in, you could go ahead and edit it to add in your own text that way. So that's an automated way of doing curated content. We also have a really great browser extension if you just see like a trending article that you wanted to send out. So I'm going to pull up a blog post here. This is going to be one of our blog posts, but this could be any article that you find online. And you'll notice in my toolbar, I have the Meet Edgar icon that I can click on. By clicking on that icon, it's going to pop up the Add New Content screen right here. You can see it's pre-populated with the link and title. So all I need to do is go ahead and categorize it, go ahead and check off its account permissions, and then you can go ahead and can't send these to Pinterest or Instagram. And then you can go ahead and either save it to your library, or how a lot of people will use this is if this is a trending article that you just wanted to send out to all of your accounts at once. You'll also notice this arrow has 2 options. One is send now and save. So you could just send now and save, which will send this 1 minute after you click this to any of the accounts that you've attached. If this is a trending article you only want to send out once, advanced settings will allow you to mark it as a use once post, which means after Edgar sends it once, he'll automatically expire it. Or you could set a specific date and time with this schedule, send and save option of when you wanted to send this out. So a lot of really easy ways to automatically add that content in there. And that's a great question to ask because we certainly recommend always using curated content in your social media strategy.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I think we'll go ahead and stop the live questions at this, but we do have, we'll stick around, and there's a couple of chat questions that I'm finishing up responding to. I'll go ahead and finish those up. So if you have other questions, we'll be sure to get to those as well. We did want to let you know that if you are interested in Visme, if you want to sign up, we have a free account that you could start to try and poke around in. So just go to visme.co to sign up for that. I also put the Teams page. If you are a team and you want to try Visme out for your team, you can get a personalized demo on that page. You can sign up there. Megan, do you have any places you want to point people if they want to learn more about Meet Edgar?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to meetedgar.com, your first 7 days is free when you sign up. We do have a full Edgar plan that's for 25 social media accounts and unlimited categories and time slots. Or we do have a light version that's for 3 social media accounts, 4 categories, and 10 time slots. If you do have more questions about features and you're not feeling comfortable, please email support@meetedgar.com, or I did drop into the chat a link to our office hour sessions that we run every day, super unstructured, just a place you can pop in and ask any questions you want there.
Awesome. Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and sticking to the very end. And thank you again, Payman and Megan, for their awesome content. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your Tuesday.
All right, great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Take care. See ya.